All right, let's go straight into this discussion. Please keep an open mind for this. The topic is power manipulation and exploitation. How women are targeted in the workplace and business, and how to fight back. Right? So I will start with you, Funmi. How do power dynamics in professional and social settings create opportunities for manipulation and exploitation of women? Can you share some examples that you've witnessed or experienced? Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. And, of course, the convener and fellow panelists here. Thanks so much for having me. So I'll be speaking from the perspective of someone who has done about 25 years in banking. So I would say that things have actually evolved. When I started like 25 years ago, we walked into a system where women, of course, in the workplace, were seen to be next to the men. So there was a mental conclusion that men were actually better with regards to banking as a profession. So, of course, you would see instances within the four walls of the bank where you're pushing to do stuff. You can see clearly that what you're doing, you're seeing the output, but somehow they get to downplay all of the stuff that you're doing. Of course, power dynamics rooted in hierarchy, race, gender, or whatever, gives opportunity for women to be, of course, manipulated and exploited. And that is not an exception in the industry where some of us have worked. So you see a situation where, for example, a woman is being given extra responsibilities. They give you more. And you know, it's being framed as grooming you for leadership roles, right? They keep giving you more roles, more responsibilities, and they just say, it doesn't give you, you're not well compensated. You're not appraised to say, this person has done this much. But the male counterparts get them done, and they, of course, appraise them and they get promoted. So I would say, over the years, I think things have changed, because in my profession, things are gradually getting better, because, of course, women are also now speaking up. Right. You see situations where, like I said, you're given extra responsibilities and you're not acknowledged. But, of course, women are beginning to have voices. I remember in my early days in banking, you know, traditionally, we are seen to be passive. In fact, there's the social conditioning that women are not meant to speak up. When you speak up, when you're assertive, they frame it to be aggressive. They say she's very aggressive. When you're speaking up, they say she's loud. Right. So we've seen over the years how some of these power dynamics have played out within, of course, the industry where we work. But like I said earlier, we're beginning to see gradual improvement with platforms like this, where women are being ignited on the need to get better, on the need to step up, and of course, prove to the entire world that things are now, you know, they have all it takes to take on leadership roles.
Thank you very much, Funmi. So Funmi has said that, well, now we've started to see improvements. Whether or not we agree, we would know. The audience will tell us with your questions, and if you've had experiences of this in your workplace or your business. So please get your questions. This thing is echoing. Get your questions ready. We're not going to spend too much time talking, because I know that there'll be a lot of questions from you to the panelists, or, you know, Jay Booms is still here and I'm here as well. So please write your questions or just prepare your questions. I will come over to you, Kike. And I'm happy to ask you this question. What are some common tactics used to manipulate or exploit women? And how can women recognize these red flags, and what should they do?
All right. Excellent afternoon to all the distinguished women and gentlemen in the room. Truly, it's an honor to be here today for the second edition of She Leads Mentorship Program. And first, let me begin by saying that I truly want to commend the convener. Doja, you are doing a fantastic job. And it takes vision, courage, and consistency, in seeing the kind of audience today. And I must say that you have both three going on for you. And from a gender inequality that limits, women when it comes to the access to opportunities in workplaces, in our home fronts, when we see women like this lead to gather, guide, mentor, and of course, uplift one another, I think that this is when we will really see the change that we are craving for. Yes. On that note, I think that we should please give Adedoja Allen a round of applause. Now, going to your question, when Doja reached out to me and she sent some talking points and all of that, I truly do not like to be boxed. Okay. I'm the kind of person that just wants to speak freely and come from different perspectives. But I understand that many a times when you're in a gathering like this, you're time-bound. And when you give the mic to a journalist, you know that there's an issue. But before I answer your question, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Kikelomo Atanda-Owo Abati. I do not want a situation where I will enter the car and my husband will be giving me an attitude, so let me reintroduce myself properly because it's at the backstage. However, I will say that power over manipulation and exploitation comes from a place of knowledge and education. What you don't know will always be above you. And I will go straight to the point by itemizing certain things. I was hoping that this question would not come to me, but for some reason, while I was seated there, I just said, you never know. And some talking points came to my head. First off, common manipulation tactics and the red flags. Conditional generosity in a workplace when it comes to favors. There are strings attached to it. I'm a giver. I'm kind to many people that come my way. But I've realized that certain people have read meanings to those things, and it's not just about you, it's about them. If help is always tied to being private or off the records, that's a red flag. When you're facing unsolicited generosity from your boss in your organization or any NGOs, any community you believe that you're in, sometimes it means that they are up to something. It's either they are gradually buying your integrity or your dignity. Secondly is grooming by task or request. I like earlier when Funmi was speaking and she spoke about being paired by the men. And many times they will tell you they are grooming you. But not necessarily grooming you, but using you. And it starts small. Yeah. Again, when you react, when you have a pushback, especially if you are a woman, as she said, you are too aggressive, you are too loud. Which is in the case of Natasha. No evidence yet, according to them from Natasha. They are saying she's overreacting. Sometimes people are saying, let her bring proof. This is a case of raping someone, and you're saying that you want to check that private part. I apologize that I'm using those raw words, but we have to keep it real. Yeah. And I'm asking myself, when will that change come? The third thing, or the third point for me, is isolation. You are excluded from emails, chains of emails, meetings, networking, and many a time when you react, it's all about you're still a subordinate, but they can actually delegate that job to you, and they go present it on your behalf. Which I will also tie to credit theft. In a world that we live in today, where everybody is on socials, and credit is not given to people that you've seen their work. And you see people say, oh, I know that whatever. You submit proposals to organizations, and sometimes they take your intellectual property and turn it into their own ideas or to execute a job. So, how do you defend yourself? Is the question I'm asking. Yeah. In the Nigerian context, the culture of sponsorship and patronage can blur lines. So sometimes, can you look out for that unspoken transactional language or languages? I can get you X if you get me Y. I can help you get this if you help me with a slot. Mainly because you do not know your worth. Mainly because you do not think you have the capacity. So how do we move away from all of this? I think it's time for us to understand that education and training is key. It's time for us to understand that we need each other as women to truly come together to be there for one another. We need to understand that certain issues that we face today in boardrooms do not start from office environment. It starts from our home. Who are you behind cameras? Let me stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. She wasn't here when I made my presentation. Remember, and she's echoing what I said when I said we should come together and support ourselves. One woman would chase, have you forgotten? One woman would chase, 2 women would chase, and 3 would chase, and 4 would chase, and so on and so forth. So let's have a change of mindset here, women, by always collaborating and coming together. Another point Kike said is, one of the ways to defend yourself in the workplace or in the society is by being educated. Self-improvement, self-development. Remember, we talked about that as well. J. Booms talked about it. Morale talked about it. I spoke about it as well. When you have a wealth of knowledge, wealth of experience, I don't think anybody will be able to manipulate you so easily because you know what you're doing. Okay, thank you. So let's move on. Yemi? How can organizations and communities create safer environments that actively prevent the exploitation and manipulation of women? How? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Mrs. Allen. What a platform, what a day. It's really exciting. Well, I think it's quite straightforward. I would echo, what the last panelist has said. It's foremost is that education part. You can't overemphasize it. You are what you eat, literally. If you choose to educate your mind, when you step into a room, even a manipulator will know that you are in the room. It is about, how you choose to see things. Life is about perspective, and perspectives are usually informed by, your environment. So what do you feed on? Get educated. We can turn to systems to say, let the government do this, let the government do that. But how are you educating your own mind? And I think that's what is critical. You know, it's been said repeatedly here, we're not victims. So choose not to be a victim. How do you choose not to be a victim? By being informed. By being informed. There's nothing more that gives you liberation than information. Search for the right information. It's always, you know, there's been a lot of personal experiences coming in, and I think it's the same thing. I would draw on some of it, you know. When I look at my journey as a female, and, you know, as a female in the career world, I tried, you know, so much to look at this topic of, you know, manipulation and all of that. And I have to ask myself, have I actually ever been, you know, in this situation before? You know, thankfully, I've not been in the financial services where, you know, we know things like this is quite rampant from what we hear. But I've been in situations where perhaps I would have experienced some sort of manipulation, be it stereotypical, be it racial, be it, you know, being a female. And I think, again, you know, it just goes back to that being informed. It's so critical. Like someone said, I also grew up in a family where I'm the only female child amongst male siblings. So I think that really helped me, you know, in some sense, to sort of own who I am and have my voice. And I, you know, remember my dad always telling me, speak up, you know. That was sort of like his slang in the house. And it helped me to sort of, you know, look for information that would empower me a bit more. I also had a little funny trajectory where I also went to a school where I was the only black student in my entire school. The only other student who had a bit of blackness in them was mixed and was graduating when I was coming in. And I went through without ever experiencing racial discrimination. And I look back and I wonder, how did I scale these things? And it just dawned on me that if you choose not to be a victim, you won't be a victim. It's not about having the loudest voice. You know, we've learned that already, that, you know, empty barrels often, you know, make the loudest noise. So it's not about the shouting. It's not about, you know, being aggressive. It's just about owning your space. And that owning your space comes from being informed. So I really would say, pursue information, pursue education, and I think you would have an edge over the manipulator. What it gives you is you will see the manipulator coming, and you will have a way of escape, as scriptures put it. You know, they won't put you in a box. You will find a way out.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I just thought to probably just add a few stuff to that, because of course I lead an organization, and of course I've worked in institutions where female voices have been very much protected. So I would say institutions and organizations should support by putting in place accountability systems where you're making it clear that this institution is against manipulation and exploitation of women of any form. And of course, setting it clear that there will be consequences for such actions from anyone. Of course, it's also important to create a diverse leadership system. The previous place I worked before coming on board in the microfinance bank is a system where we women were empowered, given voice. We had a system where in major leadership roles, women were occupying them. And of course, we also now had a network within the institution encouraging women to speak up. In fact, we had a mailing system that was strictly dedicated to women. such that if they send a mail now, it just goes to only the females in the institutions, in the institution. And I think, again, going beyond that to also encourage other females. In my institution where I work now, we have a budget for gender inclusion for females. And I know that when I came on board, it was barely maybe 25, 30%. Now we are up to about 50% or thereabouts in the last almost 1 year. So those are things that institutions should do to, of course, encourage women. Of course, there's also the bit around whistleblowing system. Create a system where people can speak up. A system where people, of course, you know, in this society that we are in, the first thing to do is to acknowledge the issues with the victim before investigation. By so doing, we are supporting women and we are getting our women to begin to speak up, such that, because there are things that happen. They say, even you start to question your sanity, to say, okay, maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe I misread the situation, you know. And of course, it's also important for us to begin to create boundaries. Some of us in institutions, I don't take sexy as a compliment. I'm sorry. So when your male colleague is talking to you and says sexy, and you are all excited, and I'm wondering what's going on. So if those boundaries are not being set, you clearly should determine how you should be addressed or spoken to. The person acknowledge the issues with the victim before investigation. By so doing, we are supporting women and we are getting our women to begin to speak up, such that, because there are things that happen. They say, even you start to question your sanity, to say, okay, maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe I misread the situation, you know. And of course, it's also important for us to begin to create boundaries. Some of us in institutions, I don't take sexy as a compliment. I'm sorry. So when your male colleague is talking to you and says sexy, and you are all excited, and I'm wondering what's going on. So if those boundaries are not being set, you clearly should determine how you should be addressed or spoken to. The person who tells you you're sexy today, tomorrow will go the next mile to do something different. And I think that conversation should start from there.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Sex is not a compliment.
Maybe when I turn 70, you tell me sexy. Yeah.
Thank you for me. To echo what Yemi said, I like the part where she said that information gives you liberation. She put that down. Information gives you liberation. When you are well informed, you are never going to be a victim. And then she echoed, speak up. Can we learn to speak up, women? Yes. Can we really learn to speak? We need to speak up. When we find ourselves in compromising situations or uncomfortable situations, please speak up. Talk to someone. Go to HR. Find a friend. Find a mentor. Just speak up so that you don't go down that road alone. Thank you. Now, I don't have this question here, but before I go to my next question, it's an offshoot from what Funmi said. Kike, so what kind of compliments do you think we, as women, should be the red flag? You know, some of us are very laid back, very, you know, like a lackadaisical. We don't take things to heart. But from what we go through, I think that we need to start paying attention to compliments and start to read in between the lines. So what kind of compliments do you think women should start to pay attention to?
All right, many thanks for that question, Doja. First off, what value do you bring to the table? I'm the kind of woman that when I enter a room and you recognize my physical appearance first, I have an issue with you. I'm more than a pretty face. I have more to bring to the table when it comes to the capacity, the knowledge, and doing the work. How do we move forward from ills like calling a woman sexy? Should we refer to men as sexy as well? Would they find it complimentary? Or many a times, you know, they will. Did you just say they will? Probably they have hidden agenda, right? For me. Exactly. So tying this to gender equality and the kind of opportunities that comes our way. There's an adage that says that the village raises the child, but one woman carries the child. When you go for maternity leave, a woman carried the child. When you are returning to your workplace, you will realize that many roles has been, will I say override? I don't know, regarding what is expected of you as your responsibility and the men step in. So they use the role of being a mother, being a wife, to relegate you and to push the agenda of men forward for promotion. Therefore, how do you see that as complementary when they say, oh, you're a fantastic mother? How do you redefine it in a workplace where you still want to get your promotion while still leading the home front? I think this is something we all need to ponder on as women, not necessarily using the childhood or necessarily using our children to validate our existence. Because it takes two for you to get to where you are. And both parents will benefit from it. So how do we look at things like this and redefine it in a way that the other person too will not feel like you're being aggressive? I feel that the manner of approach at which we define beauty, compliment, is very key in an environment like ours in Nigeria. Thank you.
That is so profound. So profound. Thank you, Kike. Yemi, can you please add to that before I introduce my final panelist?
What was the question again, please?
The kind of compliments. Kike has mentioned too, she talked about somebody coming and telling you have a pretty face, that's a red flag, and then another one that defining you, you're a good mother, and stuff like that. So those compliments that we should pay attention to and just we shouldn't take it.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, the pet peeve for me is the darling compliment, where someone just calls you darling, like, oh my darling, oh yeah, I'm like, please, stop it. Go home and go and meet your darling. What I think, women, and, I say this with every sense of, really wanting to show support to that woman, to every woman, is that every woman today, you owe it to yourself to combine education, information with emotional intelligence. Funmi mentioned something very real. All of these blocks in the organization that I work in, it's very strong. We have a 20, 60, 50, 20, everything agenda for women, appropriation and all of that. We have DEI policies that are very strong in place. But I dare say to you that within the system, manipulation, abuse, and everything would still happen. What's even more interesting now is that the men now know that, oh, it's about you women. It's always about you women. The agenda is always about you women. And then they find loopholes. They find ways. So I think the onus is on you to be emotionally aware of your environment, of where you are, where you work, the people that are around you, the kind of male, that you have around you. Everybody is on a different spectrum, so you need to know the kind of people who are around you. It's like what she said. Someone calls you darling today, and you laugh, you giggle, you take a minute to feel like a darling. Tomorrow, he's going to push it further. It's the same statement with the devil. You give him an inch, he's coming to take a mile of you. So be emotionally aware. Women are not victims, and there is no excuse to be one. This also, in wrapping up, speaks to you speaking up and speaking out, and taking it from the Natasha approach. You have to have emotional intelligence as well on how to speak up. There is a how, there is a when, there is a where.
Sorry, I'm going to have to cut you short because I meant to ask. So, in the case of, oh, hey, darling, hey, dear, how do you then push back and, put the boundary there to say, I don't think I want... So, you need to help us out. Yeah, help us.
I've been in that particular situation a number of times, where people see you and just, oh, cutesy, and, all of that. The first thing is to be affirmative. Say no and stand your ground on your no. I've been in a situation where I was working with a very big brand, and there was a brand manager who happened to be male. He was in a senior role to me, and he felt because he was in a senior role to me, and at the time I was on the consulting side. So it was more like, you're the ones brought in to manage the brand, but he's the brand custodian. So he felt, he had some leverage. Like, who are all these fine, pretty young girls that have come in, to work on our brand? I can, call you as I want. And it was a case of, him wanting, when he saw that his advances were met with a stone cold face no. He then began to try everything else into like looking for loopholes in the job, and that's where a woman has to be a woman. We have it. We have that gift where we multitask. You think ahead. You are so intuitive. You can see it coming. So don't allow yourself be that victim, in the sense of it. And I say it very cautiously because I know a lot of people very sadly find themselves in situations where, pushing back can be quite difficult. But that was it. And I stood my ground, and it came out in the end that, somebody actually had to say it in one of the meetings, like, girl, Jenny, no. And, that, he likes the girl, and the girl said no. So he's looking for other avenues. What, ended up working in my favor was the work was done well and done exceptionally well. That was why I was there. So I focused on why I was there. And everything else was a no. No, I don't want to go out for a drink. I can buy my own drink. If I cannot afford it, I have water in my house. As a matter of fact, I carry a water bottle. I will drink my water. And when I get home, whatever I meet at home, I will drink. Hold your drink. It's that simple.
Ooh.
No is no. Be affirmative.
I love that. Be affirmative. Are we taking notes? Are we getting gingered? Be affirmative. So Azuka, what role does solidarity among women and allies play in fighting back against exploitation? And how can individuals foster stronger support networks? So that's a 2-in-1 question. Okay. And I'm going to ask every member of the panel.
First of all, I'm sorry about that. Well, first of all, I always, I say it all the time, and I'm not going to stop saying that. I'm not a firm believer of women supporting women. That is, for me, this big scam. And women, we don't like ourselves. That's just the truth. We pretend that we do. Even in your offices, you come to work, your colleague looks at your shoe, your handbag, she's angry, and you don't even know why she's angry. The next thing she's
trying to be very close to the male boss, trying to be close to your male, maybe your boss is maybe the boss is a man or something, and trying to be close to the man, just to know why you have more privileges in the office than her. And then even the men, they watch us, they know that there's this mini cat fight amongst us, and you're doing eye service, Ojuaye, to your boss because you want to know the reason why Sholape is shining more than you. I've worked the good thing about my office where I worked this day, before I started media room, my chairman is if you like, go and do a report to my chairman. Go and tell him about somebody. The person will hear and he will say, Georgia told me that you did this or that. So I don't know how other offices are, but in my office it's very rare for you to want to come and play that game there. But it still happens, and so everybody's careful, not to go beyond a particular boundary, So women were our biggest problem. Recently, I was arrested unlawfully. I was strict to come to Abuja. So I flew myself all the way to Abuja because the letter came from the office of the Inspector General of Police. And me being a law-abiding citizen and a journalist that have practiced for like over, if not 30 years. So I didn't tell anybody, and I told Doja, she was aware, and in Kiru video, I talk to them almost every day. So I told my friends that I talk to almost every day, like in Kiru, Olimidojo, Chika Cholonu, Shade Balogun. So I said I'm going to Abuja, Funmi Olotu, I said that they said I have a case, I have to come for this investigation hearing and everything. So I went because I knew I didn't do anything. So when on getting to Abuja, the IPO was a woman, and she's an Igbo girl. I'm Igbo. Her name is Ifoma Ifiogoli, So when she started interrogating me, when you know that you are innocent, you respond to them with confidence. So when I entered her office, me, I like my colored hair. I'm sorry, no apologies. My colored hair, my colored lips and everything. She just looked at me, as if like she looked at me head to toe. I'm like, so let me try and be simple and be nice. She's a policewoman. I'm a journalist. So let me just try and be nice and be on her level. And I said, I like your wig. The wig is not fine. But I have to just say, I like your wig. Just to make her happy. Your wig is fine, Please, I need your plug. When I go back to Lagos, I need your plug. When I go back to Lagos, I want to buy this your wig. I don't like the wig, but I have to just sell those things. For me to have a very smooth interrogation and just go away. She was like, oh, I'll give it to you. I said, please give it to me. So I tried to, she was very cold. This is a woman, I tried to chat with her to make her feel comfortable that, look, let's work together. Let me know what the thing is. She was still giving me attitude. Next thing I said, I'm a journalist. I work with this. They say, do you know Isiche? I said, Isiche is my very good friend, I quickly called Isiche. Just for her to have that smiling face. And just smile a bit. So let's talk as woman to woman. I called Isiche. I said, Isiche, I beg, I did for police station. I did police office. So this girl says she know you. Help me talk to her and we're making her gist so that she would just cool down for my matter. And I said, Isiche wants to talk to you. I gave her the phone. She spoke to Isiche. They were speaking our language and everything. They spoke and spoke and spoke. She gave the phone back to me. She said, no worry. So she said now to me that I shouldn't worry, that she'll be soft on me. So I already spoke to another high police officer who spoke to her and said, treat this case with tact. So when it was my time for her to attend to me, we started talking. I was still nice. I came like, how you come bring yourself to the floor. I don't know if anybody has ever encountered the police, going to the police station when they're interrogating you. They try to talk you down, try to make you feel you're nobody, try to put fear in your body. So me, I was ready to be a house girl. Just let me go in peace. It did not work. So I knew that I am in trouble. So, but the thing is that, the only thing that made her let me go was that I said, you are interrogating me alone. Over 20 media houses published this same court injunction. I mentioned the names of the newspapers, Vanguard newspaper, Sun newspaper, Nations, Guardian, This Day, they all published. So why am I the only one here? That's why I asked her. She didn't answer me. She ignored my question. She now said that you are here because this is cyberbullying. I said cyberbullying over a court injunction. And I said to her that because me, that what I do for a living, I ask questions. That's what I do for a living. So I said, no, I think I have to now bring my professionalism into this thing. Let me remind her that she's not dealing with an illiterate. I know the difference between cyberbullying, defamation of character, and a court injunction. So I asked her again. I said that, did you do your research? Did you investigate properly before you asked me to come here? She ignored me again. I said, because this is a court injunction. It's an authorized court injunction. The judge asked for it to be published so that unsuspecting buyers would not go back to buy that land, because it was a land dispute case. She now said, okay, and do you have your shorty? I said, I have a shorty. So I called my friend. She did everything, and she said, okay, you're on bail. You can come back in 2 weeks' time. And I said, thank you, and I left. So after today, the same girl, the same former Ifeogoli girl, started calling me back to back frantically. I was already preparing to go for another event that I was paid for to cover in Abuja. She was not calling me back to back frantically. So I said to her, is there a problem? He said, that Biggie wants to see you. Biggie wants to see you. Biggie is the guy that petitioned against me. He's the guy. They call him a socialite, a rich socialite somewhere in this Lagos, something like that, So it was like, oh, Biggie wants to see you. I'm just trying to tell you guys how we don't like ourselves. I just want to use my own personal life example. How these men use us against ourselves, and it might never end. Because I don't know this girl from Adam. I have never met her in my life. She just saw me the first day, looked at me from my wig and my boo-boo and everything downstairs, and she just carried herself with her eyes and hit herself on the floor, not me. Because it can't be me. So this thing is just the grace of God. It can never stop. Even at the point when she started calling me, I said, let me even find out what she's calling. I said, okay, Ifeoma, I'm actually doing an interview. When I'm done, I'll come look for you. While I was still there doing my interview, this girl has sent her subordinates. They came with guns. They came with their vehicle. They blocked the whole building, blocked the person's gate. Even the man and I were running because the man thought he was kidnappers. They didn't wear uniform. So I wouldn't even think that they would come to look for me like that. Do you understand? Because I was talking to them already. So the guy was running inside me, so I was chasing the man too. Because I don't know. It was later when I now peeped and I said, I know one of those guys, those are police officers. And I said, Oga, please, these are the people that I've been calling me since in your office. So they are police people that maybe they came to arrest me or something like that. He said, I shouldn't worry. So the man, when he now realized that they were not kidnappers, he now went out there, tell them that, look, they should chill. That this is not enough. It's not a criminal case. It's a civil case. That why are they after me like this? Imagine if police people can have time to track me. I'm not a kidnapper. I'm not a murderer. I didn't defraud anybody. They can track me all over Abuja to come and arrest me like that. So that means they can even catch all the armed robbers in this country. But they're not doing it. Do you understand? They're not doing it. So the man was like, I told the man that I'm not, because this is my first time in my life as a journalist I've encountered this kind of, so it was very traumatic for me. It was so traumatic. So I was now holding the man's shirt that I held the man like a baby. I said, I'm not going, they will kill me. Because when I saw the gun, because why are they coming for me like that? What did I actually do, So the man was like, okay, that he will talk to them. So he spoke to the guy, called him in his office, spoke to him. The man said that, because the former girl was still calling them, that they should bring me. So the guy said that he has nothing to say, but I have to follow them to the office. So I followed them, and we got to the office. The first thing that Ifeoma did, I was trying to call that same policeman that spoke to her. The same Ifeoma girl snatched my phone. And once they have your phone, take your phone from you, who will you call? Nobody. You can't call your lawyer, you can't call your family, you can't call your friends. So she snatched my phone, and I'm like, so at this point, and I said, what did I do to you? I had to ask her, what did I actually do to you? Like, why are you so mean to me? Do you understand? Why are you antagonizing me? And, she ignored me. The next thing she did, she told the Yoruba policeman, the Yoruba guy, I've forgotten his name, I know it, but I know it's Yoruba, that the guy should sign a detention form. So they signed the detention form. I thought it was a joke, honestly. That's why they matched me with policeman with gun again. Matched me to a station, I don't know where. I don't live in Abuja. That's why they put me in a cell. They put me in a cell for 3 days, and it was orchestrated by a woman. A man used her to do that to me. And I did everything possible to convince her, like, you can't do this to me. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I have a grandchild. I was talking to myself. I'm like, everything I was saying was just going behind her ears or whatever. I was disturbing her. She didn't care. And while I was in that cell, nobody knew where I was. So it was my friend Shade Balogun that was supposed to go to that party on Friday that started putting one or two together, and like, this woman has not called me. She just knew that something has gone wrong. She started going to all the police stations in Abuja looking for me because nobody knew where I was. And they could have killed me and nothing would have happened because nobody knew where I was. That's the truth. We've heard stories of how people have gone in detention and didn't come out alive. And that's the story. So my friends started calling my chairman that they can't find me. They called the Tagiwa that looked at it. They started, my chairman, I'm sorry I'm talking, I'm going to have to say this story because I don't know what to say. I'm still traumatized. And I have a lot of examples, but this one happened to me personally. You see your friends, you see the cat fight and the cat war. You know what is going on, but this one happened to me. It's a true life story that I'm trying to tell you that, you see, we women, it's the grace of God that God will help us not to start poisoning ourselves.
So, thank you, Azuka. Azuka wasn't here when I made my presentation. But we're here to change the narrative. I said it. Women supporting women. International Women's Day, we're doing it. Women supporting women. Do we actually? She said a man used her against her. Kike, how can individuals foster stronger support network? We need to wrap up now so that we can take questions.
All right. Let me start from what Madam Azuka just shared, because I've always been an advocate of women not supporting each other, and that's the honest truth. Again, I sympathize with you with the circumstances, and I like the fact that you have to summon the courage to share. Where am I coming from? Many a times when situations like this happen, you see people advise you not to share. The same people advising you not to share will use the same information to bring you down. So it's about drawing the power off their carpets. Solidarity is everything. Women often suffer in silence because they think they are alone. Imagine if someone like her didn't have any ally or any loved one that would look out for her. So once women share their stories, the manipulator loses power. Women must speak up often. Women must show up for each other genuinely. If you see a colleague being sidelined, amplify our voice. Mentorship matters, hence the reason why we are all gathered here today. Many thanks to Adedoja Allen. Experienced women like her are the kind of people that we need in our society so that the younger ones can have opportunities and many open doors for them. Again, I want to emphasize on allies. It matters a lot. Men who recognize inequality must also challenge it. So, back to what I said earlier, it starts from our own fronts, not the boardrooms. Look at initiatives like WIMBIS. When Doja was talking earlier, she was talking about Women's Month, which is March. Many men are irritated by that month. Everything, women, you people must celebrate each other. WIMBIS is that network that I can say that have countless visibility, opportunities, especially when it comes to funding, because that is where many women do not have that capacity to grow. So that sense of community is what we need. I always tell people that I'm where I am today because someone opened the door for me. And I'm afraid to burst your bubbles. It was in women. Today, I run 2 active organizations, constantly facilitating trainings for top organizations, government and non-governmental bodies. I have another active media engagement on TV, on radio. I can tell you categorically, those partnership, sponsorship, opportunities till date comes from men. And these men, I must tell you, I have never faced any sort of harassment before in my life. That's the reason why sometimes I cannot relate. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, don't get me wrong. But many a time it could be how you carry yourself in front of this man. Again, back to what Madam Azuka said earlier about women not truly supporting women. Again, who are you behind cameras is the question I'm asking again. You leave your home every morning to go to the society to add value one way or the other. That home front defines who you are and what you will be, which means your family, your partner, your children. Do you all realize today that it's another woman that will bring down another woman's home? Do you realize today that many a times the men will come to you in disguise to say, oh, it is because your other fellow woman is not doing this, that's the reason why I'm coming to you, and you embrace it, sometimes unknowingly. So you must be conscious of the kind of gimmick that the men bring to continually cause friction between we women. If your man or the man who is speaking with you is not an Oba where you want to go and be the 10th wife, it's okay. If the man who is engaging your time is not saying to you, I want to marry you as the second wife, it's okay. I think that the society that we live in today have also helped to amplify the shenanigans from the men today. How do we stop it? Is the question I'm asking.
All right.
We bet these men. There's so much power that lies in our hands. When we women do not understand that there are certain powers that we carry, the men, the change that we are seeking for will not come to pass. When you understand that you have a daughter that you don't want a path to look like yours, that change must come from you. Except a man comes to you to say, I want to take you as a second wife with the support of the first wife, if she's ready to embrace it. When you do not want to be behind the cameras, guys, let me be real with you. You see, it's very sweet to date sugar daddies. But the day he tells you, please keep quiet, my wife is calling, I think that is where you should know your place and understand that you are not just a second fiddle, but it's just using you. So, in other words, where am I driving my point to? And which is part of manipulation. And like Madam Azuka said, the men see through we women and they easily manipulate us. It happens among us individuals ourselves when it comes to our children. So, what kind of change are we seeking for? If women link arms or come together genuinely, there's a reason why I keep using the word genuinely and truly. Because we live in a society today that we are living in an opportunistic environment. Some people are scheming why I should be Funmi's friend right now. She's looking good, she's wearing gold. Not necessarily with good intentions. But if truly women link arms genuinely, there is no system we cannot change. There is no door we cannot access. And there is no kind of manipulation that will come from any man born out of a woman or brought out of a woman. So how do we move forward to understand that that change begins with us? And the change begins from our own front. Thank you.
Woo. That was explosive. Kikelomo echoed all we've talked about all morning, and she wasn't here. But we are here in this room to change the narrative. That's what we agreed. Clearly, we can see she talked about ally and strong support system and solidarity. So that's why we coined one woman would chase 1,000, two would chase 10,000. So when we come together in solidarity and to form an ally, there's a lot that we're going to push. Imagine when that Madam Ifoma was, should I use the word abuse now? Bullying you, Azuka, at the police station, and other women were able to raise their voices. I'm sure she will not be able to get away with it. Okay, so we're going to round up the panel. Now, do you have any questions?
Yemi is a former colleague. I can attest to everything she said. That's her soft voice. You can't mess with Yemi.
Yes, she sounds so, of course.
She sounds like you can break her into two. It's a lie.
I know.
She's very firm, assertive.
Correct.
Still feminine, but you don't mess with her. Now, back to where I was going. So there's no feminine way to pilot a plane. There's no feminine way to perform heart surgery. There's no feminine way to drive a car. You are either a good driver or you're a bad driver. So I want us to stop this. To be honest, I think we women have brought a lot of this upon ourselves.
Yes.
Because we act like, oh yeah, when the boss is angry, we send the guy to go and collect the anger. We women stay back. Yeah, the man, go now, let him shout on you. No. Let him shout on me too. Yeah. We did the job together. There's no feminine way to speak. You can have feminine mannerisms. If you see these action movies, if you see a female assassin beat up a guy, beat a guy to stupor, she wasn't throwing feminine punches. She was fighting, period. She would still wear the high heels and catwalk out of the scene, but she did not fight like a female. You are either a good boxer or you're a bad boxer. So I want this. Can we just stop? When men gossip, they call it gist. We female, we say our own is gossip. It's the same thing. You are either manifesting a bad behavior or a good behavior. There's no feminine way to resume at work. You are either early or you are late.
Thank you very much.
So please let us stop acting female when we don't have to. That is why the men would eat us, because we've shown we are female by coming late. We've shown we are female by leaving work too early.
They take advantage.
We've shown we are female by crying all the time or whatever.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for that contribution. Very quickly, let's have the next question.
Okay. Good afternoon. All right. I wrote down my question before Madam Azuka came in, and I was telling my partners here that she just said what I wanted to say, that I am not a believer of women supporting women. And it comes from a personal experience that I've had. Now, the way my father trained me to be equal with men. He trained me like a male child. And when it was time for me to get married, he tried to tone down that firmness in me, because he felt I would not find a man that would like me for being at equal parts. But God would have it. He gave me a husband that, you see that stubbornness, that was what my husband liked. And my father would tell my husband that, are you sure you can handle my daughter? And my husband told him that, you see that stubbornness, that is what I like. Now, at a point when I had a partnership with a fellow lady. In fact, I was helping her to build a foundation for women. That was how much I loved this women thing. Just for her to remove the shocker from my leg, all of a sudden, and then everything we built just went down. And since then, it's been almost 4 or 5 years now. I've not gotten over it. anything that has to do with women, I don't want to hear it. I don't want. But my husband still believes that he feels I can do this. He knows I can do it. He said he feels when I come and I have women surrounding me that we can do exploit. And I tell him, no way. But when Madam Azuka came and mentioned, I said, yes, it is a lie. Women supporting women is a lie. So I wrote down, I said, how do I overcome this phobia? Because everything I've gotten, like Madam Kikelomo said, is from men. Even my career, I'm in the real estate industry. I don't want to know who you are as a man. I don't want to know. But when it comes to women, I am scared of my gender. I am scared of my gender. So, Mas, how do we overcome this? How do I overcome that phobia?
So, you're not the only one. We talked about it earlier when we started this conference. And I did say that mentorship with Adedoja Allen is a movement to change that narrative. So we're a group of women, and I have strong women on the panel with me. Even Azuka, that has said that we hate ourselves, is going to be that advocate. She's part of the change that will continue to drum it in our heads. We must support one another. It's very shameful, and that's the right word to use, to see a fellow woman bring another woman down. One house, please. Each of us here, we're over 200 in this room, if not almost 300. I think we had about 400 people register. Each of us in this room must be that change agent. So she's asking how. How is to make up our minds today that that narrative will change. That narrative must change. That narrative shall change, and the change begins with me. Now, Yemi said we should speak up. So if you find a fellow woman doing something to another woman, speak up. Speak up on behalf of that woman. Thank you.
Dear,
yes,
can
please.
I just
please?
Quickly? So I think it's a good thing that we're having this conversation today. It seems like most of us in this room are aligned with the thoughts that we have not supported one another enough. And like she said, this is a movement. If we decide in this room that we will do this, we will do it, and we can create the impact. The truth is, a lot of women, and it starts with us. As you're complaining, saying all sorts about the other women, also ask yourself, how have I been able to uplift the women around me? What example am I providing? I was in an institution some years ago, maybe like 15 years ago, and we had a young lady who, of course, just joined the bank. Of course, you will be due for confirmation in 6 months. At some point, she was pregnant, and she had a female branch manager in the same bank. Of course, she was doing all she could do to excel. Excellence, very key. A call to support women is not a call to support mediocrity or incompetence. Right. So she did all she could. And of course, our branch manager just couldn't have it. I was watching, because at that point I was at, a zonal level. So I was watching, and I was asking myself, this lady was going to give birth. She needed to be confirmed. Of course, she did all she could, and I saw the numbers. But the branch manager, who was a lady, wasn't ready to get that confirmation. Because the implication was, if you're not confirmed, you will not be able to go on maternity leave. If you go, you will go without payment. So it was a very tricky one. And then I went ahead to get it done. So it became like a battle between myself and the branch manager, because but of course the figures were clear. What am I trying to say? A woman who clearly saw a pregnant lady who was doing all she could do to ensure that the numbers were showing. And the numbers did show. What else could be your challenge? Another case of a woman in another institution who, of course, the lady, I guess, was quite vocal. So people felt she was vocal. She was the type that was challenging, of course, the system. So at some point, she was marked for exit. So this other lady, who was a divisional head in another unit, of course, felt she needed support, she needed staff. And said, okay, you're on the verge of being exited. Come to me, I'll take you in. So and she took her in. Of course, leadership is both ways. As you're expecting sound followership, you as a leader also needs to deliver the same level of expectation. So of course, this lady then came into that unit, and every day it was about, after God in your life, I'm the next. So constantly, I saw a lady who went from being very vocal to now losing her voice, self-esteem gone, and it wasn't a man that did all that. It was a fellow woman. So what are we saying? We in this room can choose. It's a movement. She leads. This is the second edition. And some of you were here the last time. Of course, we have new members here today. We can take it upon ourselves. Yes. And we as women who are also leading institutions will be here to support. Such that the men out there know that this is now a movement.
It's a movement.
And we are now willing to support one another.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. One or two more questions, Koyi, and we'll wrap up the panel discussion. Wrapping up.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I'm Folashade, a pharmacist. I'm a pharmacist and a health and wellness coach now. Everything that we've been talking about, I've gone through the career. As a marketing person, and we have, at the time we were on the board of various multinationals, we were working with men. Everywhere, it was only, either I'm the only lady working till 11:30 p.m. and things like that. But what I want to say is that when a mission becomes an obsession, when it becomes an obsession, then becomes a movement. Yes, we are laying the foundations, we're saying it here, but let this mission we are talking about here, about women truly supporting each other, let it become an obsession. Then it becomes a movement. Yeah. So I've had various experiences, but the angle I'm coming in, everything has been said, but one perspective I experienced was when the exploitation from our boss, who was a director male, in my industry then, he goes out with all the ladies. You must pass through him before you can become either a manager. You know, you come in as sales reps and rise up. I rose up right from sales rep to group country manager. So you have to be in his bed. So it was taking every woman one by one, and we had a German director. That was the experience we had. So when it was my turn, he just called me back. He just called back after the meeting, please stay back. And he said something that shocked me. He said, now that you are born again, I want to go out with you. I was dumbfounded. And I played delayed tactics, said all sort of lies and things, and just pushed him back. He's not good, he's this, that. And he kept keeping my allowances. He kept giving me queries. He kept putting pressure on me. As a young lady, I wasn't married then. And I was confused. The truth is, I went to my pastor. That's the aspect I want to be, God factor. I went to my pastor, and he said, I've taught you how to pray. Go and do the prayers. And I went there and did a warfare prayer in the night with my brother overnight. But the interesting thing that I want to share, I'm sharing this outside for the very first time. Not in 24 hours. He said, beat him, tell him in prayer what you want. That was his strategy, and we did it. The next morning, my boss was waiting at the entrance of my office. I slept. He knelt down in the dream and said, I am sorry. Then as I got to the office, he said, Shade, please come to my office. I went to his office and said, I am sorry. Wow. This is your allowance. Wow. This is your promotion. Wow. This is it. So the God factor too, prayer as a woman works.
In fact. We should close the event. Are we? Any more questions?
Yes.
The God factor as a woman works. Please don't take that lightly.
Please just
God
one
is,
question.
meaning God is for women. God loves women. Ooh. Next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Polake Okunaya. I'm a millionaire.
Connie, that's the last question. Sorry, because we're time.
Okay, I'm a millionaire. The reason why I actually came for this event, I was supposed to be at the event yesterday for Mrs. Yeah. But I was one of those people that kept thinking, oh, I'm going to do it. I will do it. I need to be there. And the price increased, and I was not going to do virtual. Like, a few hours after, I saw this, and I just went in for it. And I want to say thank you, Mrs. Adedoja, for this amazing experience and exposure. In my industry, is an industry that is just starting. It has actually been there, but I'm actually one of those people that actually started bringing millionaires together in Nigeria, and I've extended it to Africa. And this coming, in a few weeks' time, we'll be having our art exhibition. Now, one of the things I actually wanted to talk about, she actually insisted that no contribution but question. So I'm going straight to the question, but I need to say some things before I get to the question. Starting an industry, I started Millionaires Association of Nigeria, where I bring millionaires together. An industry where 99.9% are actually women. We that we make your turbans, your hair pieces, all this stuff. So just Google it, millinery. The person doing it is the millionaire, but the job itself is millinery. So starting an industry like that, I started my business while I was in school, so young, and I just didn't look like it. 10 years into my business, I started Millionaires Association of Nigeria. And one of the greatest challenges that I had was, of course, an industry where it's full of women. I had a lot of encounters. So much so that I had to actually belittle myself just to get what I want. A lot of people think I'm so young and the way they treat me. But because I know where I'm going, today I can attest to the fact that in 2 weeks, 3 weeks' time, British Council actually supported us for the next art exhibition. And nobody saw me coming. The aspect I'm now coming from is my question. Sometimes we get to that point where you are moving up the ladder, and you get to that point where you feel like you are opening rooms and doors for everybody. And it feels like you are behind. It feels like, and in that kind of discussion, I've actually spoken to people and say, oh, afobaje okin joba, but you will always be relevant. But sometimes you cannot connect it because you see even the women that are taking benefit from what you are doing, entering rooms, entering offices, meeting the right people, they will not even they will not acknowledge that this person is doing so much work to get you into those rooms. How do you handle situations like that? Because it's a little bothering to keep moving on and supporting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Allen said to answer your question. I think someone mentioned the word patience earlier on. I'm just going to add to the word patience to say there is a time and a season. If you speak to 99.9% of the women in here, we've all been where you are in some situations in our life. The door will open for you at the right time. If you push to enter into that door to be known, you will be pushed out. So just wait. Let the people that want to own the space go ahead of you. Your time will come. You cannot sow and not reap. It is a principle that is effective in every way. I just want to wrap up, with this. I might be an exception to the rule here. There's always an exception, in the room. over 15 plus years in my working experience, it is the first time in my career that I will ever have a male boss. All my bosses have always been female, and I speak so highly of them. They have made me who I am seated here today. You can choose to be an exception to the rule. I think obstacles are meant to be overcome, so choose to overcome it. I chose very early on in my career, especially when I moved back to Nigeria and I saw the way women behave to women. I consciously said the words to myself, I will be a different female leader. And I hold myself up to it. When I have females who are in my team, I am particularly particular about how I lead them. And I choose to lead by example. And I think everyone can decide, I think everyone can decide to do that as well. We're here to change the narratives. Because a lot of women do it, does not mean every woman does it.
Excellent.
Mrs. Allen is an example of, being that one person that chooses to be different. But today she showed us a lot of women who are different. Please go back and choose to be the exception to the rule. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yemi. Thank you to all my panelists. Can you please appreciate the panelists? A round of applause, standing ovation to all my panelists, Funmi, Kike, Yemi, and Azuka.